Glory, America. Bonjour, hi, candidate Hugh Hewitt, live on a Friday. I'm so glad you are with me. I'm going through a difficult time. There's purgatory, there's hell, and then there are homeowners associations. And with God as my witness, I have avoided homeowner association disputes unless I'm being paid for 37 years. But now I'm involved with one. So you'll hear a lot about this in the coming couple of years. Because it will take that long. But homeowners association, honest to goodness, I think it was a plot of the Soviet Union before they dissolved to bring us down, to import this form of governance, which does have its Stasi-like elements, into the United States. And I had fled from all condominium associations long ago after one brush with a condominium association when the fetching Mrs. Hewitt and I were young, and have generally preferred to own in fee simple in the least governed communities possible within the world that I live in. And I thought I had done that, but I ended up, nope, trick was played on me. There are committees within the committees, and they have now sufficiently engaged my attention that I'm moving the energy of my existence into a homeowners association campaign. God forbid I run. No, I'm not going to do that. But I'm gonna. Dwayne, do you belong to a homeowners association?
Negative.
No.
I did, and you and I both know.
I know. I litigated with them.
You helped me. You helped me get through one of those. But no, I'm not currently in one.
No, there's purgatory, there's hell, and there's homeowners association.
I'm waiting for the sidebar off air about this one.
Oh well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be actually. I can get a lot of columns for the Washington Post out of this one. Because generally speaking, the world is divided 90-10. 90% of us hate homeowners associations, and 10% of us love it. It reminds me, and by the way, I love people who volunteer.
It's the school boards of houses.
Well, yeah, it's the school boards of houses, and like the school boards of today, they are ignoring the owners. But in any event, I love volunteers. I encourage volunteerism. I really do. I think volunteers are wonderful, and homeowner association volunteers who do like the landscaping and the architectural detail committee, my hat is off to you. But there is a bell curve in everything, the Hugh Hewitt rule of life. And in the bell curve of any particular homeowners association, there are going to be activists who want to run everyone's life on one side and Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino on the other end. And I like to live in the middle. And more of this coming. Let me do the news. There are serious stories and not serious stories. Serious story number one. Xi Jinping brushes off Führer dogging Beijing genocide Olympics. Of course he does. He's Mr. Genocide. But I did not expect Nancy Pelosi to encourage our athletes to cower before the communist genocidal regime of the Chinese Communist Party. But she did. She did. Cut number 13.
That the Chinese government works desperately to cover up their abuses, rewriting history and projecting a very different image to the world, or tries to anyway. Many in Congress have fought to ensure that the world remembers the truth of the PRC's human rights record and to hold them accountable, including by seeking to deny them the honor of hosting the Olympics. In 1993, Congress passed strongly bipartisan legislation calling on the IOC to reject China's 2000 bid, and we were successful then in doing so. Many of us again opposed China's 2008 bid. Sadly, the IOC chose to sell out on human rights in China, but we continue to speak out, including by urging President Bush then to boycott the opening ceremonies. Now the IOC, aided by corporate sponsors, once again turns a blind eye with the 2022 Winter Olympics just to bolster their bottom lines, as Mr. McGovern mentioned. As I was said, if we do not speak out against human rights violations in China because of commercial interest, we lose all moral authority to speak out against human rights violations anywhere. And that is why at a CECC hearing last May, I called for no official presence at the Beijing Olympics. Thanks to the strong leadership of President Biden, the administration has joined Congress in presenting a united front in this effort. And proudly, many nations have followed America's lead, including the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Belgium, Denmark, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. Make no mistake, our athletes should participate. They've trained, they're disciplined, they've dreamed, they've aspired, they've worked hard. But this year, we must celebrate them from home as they compete in China. I would say to our athletes, you're there to compete. Do not risk incurring the anger of the Chinese government because they are ruthless. I know there is a temptation on the part of some to speak out while they are there. I respect that, but I also worry about what the Chinese government might do to their reputations, to their families. So again, participate, let us celebrate from abroad, and don't risk thinking that there are any good intentions on the part of the People's Republic of China government, because there are none.
All right. This is the constitutional official of the United States, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, counseling Americans not to speak out against slave labor and genocide, the harvesting of human organs and forced sterilization, because the United States government cannot protect its own people or their families when they are in the grip of the Chinese Communist Party. Well, what do you call that? What do you call that other than cowardice? I don't know what these athletes are going to do. I wouldn't go.
Don't go.
Don't go. They're going to take your genetic data. If you say anything, if you pass gas, you may be arrested. I'm telling you, it's a totalitarian nightmare society. And if you don't know that, I don't know where have you been. But it's a totalitarian nightmare society that's running concentration camps. And you're going to go play games there in the middle of a pandemic, which they started and which they covered up and about which they have not been forthcoming and from which new variants might exist in that totalitarian state about which we know nothing. So don't go. And if you do go and you feel like saying you want to be Enos Kanter Freedom, he's the one, of all the NBA players, which NBA player do you know that has achieved an iota of dignity over the last 2 years? 1 ounce of dignity with regards to the Chinese Communist Party. Enos Kanter Freedom. He's the one. And he knows it puts a target on his back. Nancy Pelosi. Don't say anything, hear nothing, see no evil, speak no evil, smell no evil, whatever it is. I'm embarrassed. Joe Biden will probably show up today and say, whatever you do, praise the Chinese communists. Meanwhile, the U.S. sees Iran's nuclear program is too advanced to restore the key goal of the 2015 pact. This is in the Wall Street Journal. It's an exclusive. This is the attempt by the Biden administration to explain why their appeasement was inevitable. There is no inevitable appeasement. There is no inevitable nuclear Iran. There is no inevitability. It is a choice by Joe Biden. He's an appeaser. His team is full of appeasers. They are appeasing Russia. The U.S., however, says that Russia is plotting to fabricate a pretext for the Ukraine invasion using Operation Himmler, which was when Himmler dressed up a bunch of German soldiers as Poles and had them invade Germany, killed them, and then declared war on Poland. So apparently Putin's got this up his sleeve. But since he's running up against the softness of Joe Biden, he's going to proceed forward. Team Biden wants us to talk about the great special forces taking down the terrorists we've never heard of. And they have the fabled Situation Room, which isn't like Baghdadi or Soleimani or bin Laden, but Joe wanted the photo shot. When I come back, though, I got to cover the biggest story of all, which is the Israeli study that offers the strongest proof yet that vitamin D is crucial to beating COVID. Don't go anywhere. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt on a Friday. I've just been accused by Generalissimo of having a dirty mouse. And I frankly resent that insinuation completely. I can't get my computer to work. Sonny Bunch probably never has this problem as the highly effective 5-star rated official film critic of the Hugh Hewitt show, The Bulwark, and host of Across the Movie Aisle. Do you ever have dirty mouses, Sonny?
So when it's funny that you mentioned this. I have not in a while because I've been using a laptop, for the last 10 years. But back when I had a, regular desktop computer with a mouse, with mice, it would occasionally get, there gets some dirt or hairs or whatever would get in the little sensor that was what made the actual mouse work. 'Cause, eventually it switched from having, the trackball thing that the mouse worked with to, just little lights.
Yeah.
And if dirt got in that sensor,
there's bound to be mouses.
Yeah. No.
Exactly. So anyway, it was I have had that problem before. You might want to just get a little cloth and make sure that it's clean in there.
Well, just the accusation of possibly having a dirty mouse is, I think, offensive to me. But I digress. Sonny?
Well, it's not a personal accusation.
Well, with Dwayne, everything is.
An indictment. It's not an indictment of your cleanliness overall. It happens to the best of us.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Guilty, Your Honor.
It's defamatory. Talk to me, Sonny. I need to go I'm going to Arizona tonight to moderate a Senate and a governor's debate tomorrow morning. I'm going to need a movie tomorrow night. What do I see?
Well, I would recommend. Look, Hugh, I am at heart. I will always be, 18 years old. So I strongly recommend checking out Jackass Forever in a theater.
No way! No.
I know. Look, we come from different generations here. Okay, so when the show Jackass on MTV first debuted, I was 18 years old. I was in college and watching it in college, drinking swill vodka and bootlegged orange juice out of a used red Solo cup with all of my degenerate friends in the dorm room, and we watched the first season, and it was the funniest. Hugh, it was the funniest thing that has ever been on television.
I imagine if that had happened to me in 1974 when I was a freshman in college, and beer was food, right? That's back when beer was food.
Exactly. It was. I some of my fondest memories. This is a 100% true story. Some of my fondest memories of that first year of college at the University of Virginia, sitting in the dorm with my friends, watching the guys on Jackass do their stunts and their tricks and their shenanigans, and just falling out of my chair laughing so hard. It really is a look. There's a purity. There's a purity to what these guys do that I think is actually important to understand the male psyche, certainly of a certain age. That it's not mean spirited what they're doing, because they're doing it to each other and they're having fun. And when they're hitting each other in the private regions, or when they're doing these ridiculous stunts, like in this latest one, there is what I can only describe as a wedgie pulley system that two of the guys jump off a platform and give themselves wedgies, which in turn pulls up a third man giving him a wedgie in the middle. That is so ridiculous and clever and funny, and but again, not mean spirited. Not mean-spirited. Most prank shows are mean-spirited.
I agree. I hated prank shows, and I don't like pranks. But I think these are consenting adults, and
consenting adults. They're having a fun time with each other. They're all laughing very, very hard. And again, look, as somebody who grew up on the Three Stooges and enjoys physical comedy and enjoys watching people, there's nothing funnier than seeing somebody get hurt in a funny way. Not in a Joe Theismann sort of way, right?
No, it's a belly flop. I lifeguarded for 5 years. The funniest thing in the world is a belly flop on which no one is injured, except the person stings a little bit. That is funny.
Exactly. So look, I know that this is going to be somewhat controversial with some folks. Jackass Forever is a very, very funny I have not laughed that hard in the theaters in a long time. And part of it is nostalgia. I have nostalgia for these guys and their shenanigans, but it is also just, it is objectively funny to watch a man get hit in the nether regions. There's that.
You've just reminded me, Sonny. Were you embarrassing people when you were laughing that hard? Because those are the best movies.
Everybody in the theater was laughing this hard, Hugh. It really is. Again, this is. I can't speak for the fairer sex. I can't speak for the more enlightened sex. But when you have a room full of guys watching Jackass or its predecessors or its sequels, Jackass Forever, etc., they all just lose it. They lose it because it is just exceptionally funny. I don't know how to describe it. It really is it's a perfect movie in the sense that it does exactly what it sets out to do, which is make you laugh by causing bodily injury to people who enjoy watching that sort of thing.
Well, the female equivalent to this is the fetching Mrs. Hewitt and I many years ago went to Salinas with the intention of going to John Steinbeck's house, and it was closed. So we instead went to the movie theater and saw Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. And I've never been more embarrassed because for whatever reason, The Fetching Mr. Hewitt thinks that's the funniest movie ever made. A lot of it has to do with Jim Carrey's physical abilities. And Jackass is sort of a derivative of, it's just slapstick humor. It's all it is.
Yes, it's not even stitched together slapstick humor. It's like it's just vignettes one after the other, and they're all look. I will say it is in all seriousness. Here are people who are not going to be super into it. There is a fair amount of full frontal male nudity. So if that makes you
thank you for telling people that.
Don't. If that makes you nervous, don't go there. It's not sexual. It's just dudes hanging out, so to speak, and it there's a little bit of scatological humor, I would say, but really not as much as in previous installments. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But look, it's a hard R. It's a hard R movie.
Is there anything else? There's Macbeth, right? I got to go see Macbeth.
Well, you can watch Macbeth at home on your Apple TV Plus.
That's not going to be the same thing.
I don't know that it's still in theaters. I think it's mostly online now. There's a movie. Did we talk about Nightmare Alley? There's a movie out called Nightmare Alley right now.
If we did, I blocked it out. Do I need to see that? Is that a horror movie?
So Nightmare Alley is a noir. It is based on the book of the same name and a 1949, I think, film version starring Tyrone Power. The plot is a drifter winds up at a carnival. He learns the secrets to doing a mentalist show. The code words and all of that. He's played by Bradley Cooper in this version, and with that talent and ability, he goes to the big city. In this case, Buffalo, I believe, and essentially gets involved in a scam to steal money from a wealthy, powerful, and possibly mob-connected person. The movie is all about how that goes sideways. But it's a very dark movie. It is a very it is a pure noir. It is black-hearted. It is very cynical. It is not a light-hearted.
Is there any kind of happy medium between Jackass and Dark Nightmare Alley?
There is a new movie out called Moonfall, which I wasn't able to go see last night because the streets are all iced here in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, so yes, you folks have been at the center of the storm.
I wouldn't call that a happy movie, though.
Yeah, well, the moon is crashing into the earth.
What?
But everybody seems to be having a very good time with it. I don't know. Patrick Wilson seems to be having a good time in the ads. All of the actors seem to be very into it. So it seems like it's by Roland Emmerich, who is the guy behind Independence Day and The Day After Tomorrow and 2012. He is what he is, but he is kind of a goofy, entertaining figure. So it could be fun and funny.
No, maybe, Sonny. I'm telling you right now, with the Yellowstone news this morning that we're all going to die, I'm not sure I need to see Moonfall.
is Yellowstone finally going to erupt?
Well, no, if you go to my Twitter feed, someone has finally taken a visual of what's going on under Yellowstone. And it's way overdue. If you read Bill Bryson, it's like 100,000 years overdue. So it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. No, I think we're all going to die one way or another. So
yeah, I mean, I'm Catholic. I'm up for it. Yeah, I'm good. But I don't know about all you Protestants. I'm joking. Sonny Bunch, follow him on Twitter at Sonny Bunch. Follow his Across the Movie Aisle podcast. And the Bulwark goes to the movie podcast. Sonny, thank you very much. Jackass. Didn't see that coming. Did not see that coming. All right, business update. Facebook is cooked. Meta's perfect storm, fleeing users, and Apple privacy changes hit ads business. They didn't hit Amazon's ad business. They hit Facebook. 33 minutes after the hour, America, I bring you Geraghty the Indispensable, although he has a new name here, Jim Geraghty of National Review. He is Tribune of the Plebes. In ancient Rome, the plebes, who didn't get to do anything except elect 10 people who could veto stuff, would annually elect tribunes, and they were usually muckrakers and troublemakers and generally for sale. Jim is not for sale, but he is the Tribune of the militant moms now assembling on the Asia steppe, ready to ride forth across the school districts of the land. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Hugh.
How'd you like your new title, Tribune of the Plebes?
I kind of, as long as I keep the theme song, I'm fine. Now, if I sound a little bit different, Hugh, it is because I have spent if you listen to my Tuesday podcast, I had said to listeners, yeah, it's just a winter cold, don't worry. I've already tested, it came back negative. Then Wednesday morning, I felt even worse, so I got out the test. I knocked over an old lady at CVS to get a bunch of instant tests.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Stuck it way up the nose, hit the brain matter, scooped it around like the Baskin-Robbins server the way you're supposed to, put it into the thing, and Hugh, there was a pink stripe. So either I have COVID-19 or I'm pregnant. Yep,
and no matter how welcoming we are of developments in science, it is definitely the former.
Yeah. There used to be a safe joke. Jim thinks he's pregnant.
Yeah, not a joke. Not a joke.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there.
On Twitter,
wouldn't be prudent. Not going to do it.
Yeah,
not going to do it. So let's talk. So you're positive, and I hope you did. You read the Israeli study at the Times of Israel? Get some vitamin D.
Oh, I pop all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you've noticed, the entire conservative movement is now vitamin and supplement based.
It's wonderful. I hope they are taking Relief Factor, but there's no vitamin D in Relief Factor. When the Israelis tell us to do something, we should just do it when it comes to COVID.
Yeah, and interestingly, I noticed that their results on because when you talk to someone who is either, let's not currently call them anti-vax, say vaccine skeptic. I'm open to vaccines, got vaccinated, got boosted. My reaction to it's not, this infection hasn't been that bad. Just feels like a cold. But I did not feel great that the first person I heard saying people might need a fourth dose was the CEO of Pfizer. I was just like, dude, you're the wrong guy. You're not the guy we should be.
Well, let me tell you this: the Israeli scientists say we need a fourth booster, so I'm down with that. A second booster, a fourth shot. I'm down with it.
I thought that study on the fourth shot made it sound like the benefits are pretty limited.
They are pretty limited unless you're my age. If you're 65 years old,
certain folks it makes sense. Maybe
if you're over 60, I believe if you're over 60, you get the second booster. But the vitamin D, they got a little chart. Give them your age and your vitamin D level, and they'll tell you if you're going to die. That is wonderful. That's great news. That means vitamin D is good. So good on that. Now, Jim, either way, whether you're vax skeptical or vax cheerleader like I am, you are appalled by masks on small children because they serve no purpose. And I have already played the wonderful Prince William County mom who shall remain nameless because I don't know her name. I played that audio. Do you think, do people in the blue bubble have any idea what they're doing to the moms of America?
Not really. And it is fascinating when you see a person insisting that this is no big deal. Kids don't mind. Kids are resilient, right? The first question I look towards, I almost inevitably look to that columnist's bio. Sometimes they're on Wikipedia or something, and just see if they have kids. Because I think firsthand experience is going to alter your perspective on this. And, My sons say they're fine wearing masks. I call them communists, and everything works out just fine. But by and large, but my sense is, if kids want to and they don't mind, fine. There are certain kids where it's not okay, whether they're hard of hearing and they need to be able to read lips, or it's causing their irritations, or they're younger children and
if they have delayed development in speech,
right? There's lots of reasons why people say, okay, it's not. And it's one of those things where, like, if kids who didn't wear masks were going to die. Okay, fine. All right, gotcha. We would do it. That's not the circumstances here. And there's been no mitigation, no change of the alteration of the calculation of risk pretty much since March 2020. And that's what's driving people crazy here. And I had, I've talked about this with you, Hugh. I've talked about it on a couple of podcasts. I hear from readers who are going through really awful experiences with their kids, and they talk about having great kids. And the kids were troopers through much of the pandemic. And, they're back in school, which is good. A couple schools closed because of the height of the Omicron wave. Most of the country, we're well past the Omicron wave. Cases are going down really fast. I think in another month or so, we should be seeing really low cases. And the argument you could say you can't unmask kids now, we're at the peak of the Omicron wave. Well, okay, now we're not at the peak. Now we're on the downslide. And Omicron won't be this, stick you can use to wave at the people who are like, no, I want to send my kids, to school without masks. There has been such a burden on families. There has been such a psychological toll on people. And they see it in their kids. And the kids have had first they had a year of their schooling just removed and an enormous backsliding in terms of their education, their knowledge, their development, their skills, all that kind of stuff. Most schools are back. Yes, that's good. Most schools are functioning. But there's just this constant cloud over us, this constant reminder that life is not normal. And we need to let kids get back to normal. I was trying to make this point earlier in a column earlier this week. If the most effective disease mitigation strategy drives people crazy, then it's not the most effective disease mitigation strategy anymore. You got to consider a person's whole health here. And there's just been this steadfast refusal to do this throughout the pandemic.
Now, I do not know if the mom who spoke at Prince William County had accurate statistics. I'm going to use her statistics with that asterisk. I don't think she would make it up. She said since COVID, 49,000 children in America have died from all causes, 331 of them COVID-related. If that is true, and it sounded true, but we don't know, if that is actually true, it underscores what Bill Bennett, the great Bill Bennett, who I follow and cannot fill the shoes of, but he got tired of getting up early. Bill Bennett used to say America's biggest problem is with risk calculation. It was terrible at it. It could not actually calculate risk or scale of numbers or billions and trillions of that. We just lost our ability to do scale. Do you think that's what's going on here? Because honestly, if her numbers are right, 49,000 deaths of children under 18, 331 of them COVID related, we're out of our minds with the public policies that are in place right now.
I think there's a strong case to be made for that, Hugh, because whenever you say to these, when I talk about the level of risk from COVID-19 to children, I usually go over to the American Academy of Pediatrics. They update their statistics every week. And then, what it'll tell you is the number of kids who end up in the hospital is a very small percentage, anywhere from, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but usually it's either 0.6 to 1.2 out of all, I think we have 49 states in Puerto Rico. I have no idea which state refused to cooperate with them, but that's, that gives you a good sense of how things are in the country. I think it was over in the UK, they looked at every child who had passed away from COVID-19, and I believe every one of them was severely immunocompromised in one form or another. Tragic stories, but those were kids who had a real life-threatening condition before COVID-19 came along. So you do this and you talk to certain parents, and some parents get it, and some parents will be like, yeah, but how'd you feel if that was your child? Well, of course you feel terrible, right? And I guess it may be the prospect of a child dying hits us so deep that it short-circuits that risk-reward calculation process. We react to it on a gut-level instinct instead of, the rational higher brain function. Okay, that's probably not going to happen to my child. My child is probably going to be fine. I can let them go through their lives. Now, don't have a kissing party. Don't run around and go cough in each other's faces and stuff like that. But it's also would be a recognition of, kindergartners who come home with different masks than the ones they went to school with. And the idea they've been trading them, little kids are going to do stuff like that, right? It's going to be very tough to keep kids completely away from an extraordinarily contagious virus. And the good news is, most kids' immune systems are pretty darn good when it comes to this. It's been this sense that for some people, the moment you describe any child dying, they put their own kid in that mental picture in their heads.
They recoil because it's the worst thing. It's the worst thing.
Yes, it's their nightmare scenario. It's what keeps them up at night. It's what has gripped them since the moment they saw that child come into the world. And I relate to it. I think every parent feels that. Or I hope every parent feels that. Unfortunately, when you do that to the point where you're, metaphorically wrapping your child in bubble wrap, you're not helping your child, right? And you could potentially do real damage to your child by not allowing them to not just enjoy life, but to experience life, and to try to keep them from. Now, the good news is, I'm glad their kids are back in school. I do wonder if the masks are doing that much good at this point, because the kids can get together after school, they can hang out after school.
It's so stupid, Jim. I've got a 7-year-old grandson. He wears his mask. He plays basketball. They have basketball practice. They don't wear their mask, but you can't. It's just the stupidest thing in the world. And I think as a result, public education is undergoing a shattering of its credibility. And I want to just put before you my one. I know Mitch McConnell doesn't want to run on a platform. I know Kevin McCarthy just wants to run against the president. I understand the good politics of that. But I do wish they would all rally around the idea of a $3,000 tax credit for private school education, just because people have had it with public schools. They really have. There are some good ones out there. I'm not blasting teachers, bureaucracy, public school board members, superintendents. They're done. And by that I mean they have no credit. They're like Anthony Fauci. They blew themselves up.
Yeah. I was going to say, first of all, if the Mitch McConnell or Republicans running this year don't want to run on a 1994 style contract with America, and by the way, Hugh, have you noticed that every 2 years someone recommends that Republicans need to run on a 1994 style contract
they do.
with America?
We don't really want one.
If you don't want to give a specific 10, these pieces of legislation we're going to introduce and bring to the floor for a vote, then at minimum, you want to have broad themes. At minimum, you want to have, issues that you see coming up in ad after ad, district after district, state after state. And I think, at minimum, the broad theme of public education should be accountable to parents. It should not be fighting with parents. It should not be demonizing parents. It's, when a school board, school boards should be listening to parents. And you know what, some parents are going to drive you crazy, or some parents are going to be unfair or make accusations, or some parents are going to be really angry. And you know what? You got to expect that after, one, most public schools were closed for a year. Two, you got stuff in the curriculum that's driving them bonkers. You got adult stuff in the kids' library. You got to hear them out. Listen to those parents, because it's not like those parents don't care about their kids. Was it the Phil Graham anecdote of some woman who was left of center, and I assume an educator, said, Senator Graham, I care about your children as much as you do. And Graham responded, oh, yeah? What are their names?
Ha! On that note, Jim Geraghty, feel better. Follow him at Jim Geraghty. Go sign up for the Morning Jolt. He is the Tribune of the America's Plebes, one of 10. I'll name the other ones shortly. Welcome back, America. I'm Hugh Hewitt. And Tarzana Joe, who we thought for a moment might have fallen on the field, might not have actually risen to the occasion, might have broken his DiMaggio-like streak of poet, is actually on the line, though under the weather. Hello, Joe.
Oh, I am under the weather, yes.
But you were poeting anyway.
Yes. So, without much ado, or further ado. Since this began the way they asked, I've stayed 6 feet apart and masked. To put this malady to rout, I zoomed and I stopped eating out. I prayed that it would go away. I saw no movie, saw no play. I had my moving plans unravel. I didn't think it wise to travel. I worried sick without a break. Birthdays passed without a cake. Yo no sé lo que usted. I got vax. My wife got boosted. Yet here we are, some 2 years on, lay low by the Omicron. At least my darling has it with me. I feel just like a school bus hit me. In half our house we are sardined, coughing, sneezing, quarantined. I'm trying not to be too surly. Perhaps we'll do our taxes early. This COVID thing is not for sissies. Guess I'll have time to read Ulysses. That's I Got It by Tarzana Joe.
I'm sorry to hear that, Joe. You are double vaxxed and boosted, right?
I'm double vaxxed. Wife's boosted.
Oh, is she doing better than you?
No.
So does she blame you?
Let's put it this way. She can actually speak.
Does she blame you? This is the key thing.
Oh, I went to the doctor's office for a checkup last week, so I'm attributing it to that.
You are the vector. You are the vector.
The great thing about that, well, though I got my lab result, my blood results, it's like, oh, your blood is great, your cholesterol is great, everything is great. I said, thanks a lot, I'm sick as a dog.
Well, Joe, we will pray for your quick recovery. I am impressed that you took your at-bat. You're like Mantle after a long night out in New York.
I appreciate that reference.
Yeah, you know what that means? After a long night out for Mickey, he kind of reeled up to the plate and hit a home run.
Look, if I got a double out of this, I'm happy.
TarzanaJoe.com to read that. If you need, I hope you're still writing poetry. It would be bleary, but it would still be better than anything else that people can commission. TarzanaJoe at Reagan.com.
Yeah, I've told the folks who are due in a couple of days, give me another couple of days. But I always like to get it there a couple of weeks early, so I'm pretty good so far.
All right. Remember, vitamin D, Joe, vitamin D. TarzanaJoe at Reagan.com. Feel better.